Hi, I'm Jason Porter, Director of Professional Development at TGR Foundation. On today's Teaching Tidbit, I'm going to talk to you about developing a positive remote learning mindset. Positive remote learning mindset involves understanding the value and limitations of learning with students remotely and unlocking the potential to make it a very positive experience for teachers and students alike. So I'm going to share with you 5 tips that'll help you in adopting this mindset that you can utilize in your teaching immediately. Okay, so tip number 1 is try and keep a growth mindset. A growth mindset is about understanding that things are difficult when they're new, and it can feel very challenging in the beginning, but if you work hard and learn more over time, it will get better. Adapting a growth mindset really involves telling yourself the narrative that, hey, this is hard now, but it's gonna get better, and it's gonna get better for my students. And if we just keep working at it, it's gonna be all right. The second tip for a positive remote learning mindset is to establish a routine. If you think back to your teaching, especially if you've been teaching for a number of years, you've established a routine where you know the structure you want in your classroom, you know how you're going to enter your classroom, you know how you're going to have your students enter your classroom, and that routine is really crucial to when you go in the morning or go in for each class, you have an idea what it's going to look like and what to expect. Part of the challenge of remote learning and teaching right now is that a lot of us don't know what to expect, both students and teachers. And so establishing that routine of what is the environment going to look like? How am I going to use the technology to a positive way? What are the norms of my classroom that me and the students can expect? So we have some idea what we're going to do when we get into that classroom, and it will ease some of that anxiety that we may have when remote learning is new. Tip number 3 is to start your lessons with objectives. Just like you would in all great teaching, know what you want to achieve with your students. What do you want your students to be able to do at the end of a remote learning session? This will help you know what you're aiming towards, and likely, even though it's going to require some different methods, you can meet the same objectives remotely that you could with your students in your classroom. Tip number 4 is to remember to engage your students. Now, this word engage is one that we use in a lot of different ways in the teaching field and can mean a lot of different things. But there's really kind of understood to be 3 dimensions of engagement, thinking about behavioral, emotional, and cognitive engagement. And so in thinking about remote learning, it's really important to get students' attention. It's really important to connect with them emotionally. It's one of the powers of remote teaching that when we can't be around a lot of people, we can still connect with each other. It might be over a screen, but we can still see each other, we can still talk to each other and make those strong connections that make us feel like, the teacher cares about the students can reach out to the teacher, they can talk to their peers. You have that strong environment where students feel like they want to be challenged. All of that can exist in a remote learning environment. You just have to think about how are you going to set up the environment so that engagement can be there. Embrace what works better in remote learning. Realizing if you're using something like Google Meet or Zoom and other platforms, you have access to a chat. And a chat can be a really rich place for formative data on what are your students thinking. In many cases, students that would never raise their hand or share it in your classroom are going to feel more comfortable to share in the chat. So thank you for watching the 5 tips for developing a positive remote learning mindset. Most importantly, we here at TGR Foundation see all the hard work that teachers are doing across this country. We really appreciate your efforts. We know it might be a little bit challenging right now, but it's gonna get better. Just keep working through it. On behalf of all students and families, thank you, thank you, thank you. We're here as a resource. Let us help you the best way that we can.